The fill surface is slightly different to the boundary surface and lofted surface in that it does not use directions 1 and 2. Instead, it uses either a single edge or multiple edges to form a patch over a hole. Here we have a sphere that has an irregular cut made out of it, which is all one edge. There are no breaks in this because it was cut using a spline. Let's have a look at the fill surface property manager. You'll see the first box is the patch boundary. This is asking for the outside area of our patch. If I select it, you'll see that a preview mesh appears. Let's zoom into the mesh and see what's happening. You'll see here at this point the mesh is not touching the sphere. This is because the fill surface works by putting an extra large patch over the hole that's needed and then trimming it back to suit the opening. If we go back to a property manager, you'll notice edge settings and a number of options. Because there's only one edge in this example, it's the only one that appears in our patch boundary box. The edge settings for this edge at the moment are set to contact by default. I'll approve this and we'll use the evaluate tools to see what our fill looks like. If I turn on curvature, immediately you can see that the sphere is perfectly even in its curvature and the patch fill is not. This is because the patch is simply touching the boundary and guessing the rest of its curvature along the way. If we go back and edit our feature, we have the option to change from contact to tangent or curvature. In a sphere, either one will give identical results. I'll select tangent, approve it, and let's turn on curvature to see the result. You'll see that the patch is perfectly green as well as the rest of the sphere. This means the curvature is completely identical right across our patch. Let's have a look at some of the other items in the property manager. Alternate face does not apply to a sphere because it has only one face. If we were patching over something more irregular, we would have a number of faces upon which to be tangent. We will look at constraint curves in the next example. Here we can see a complex surface with a four-sided hole cut out of it. Let's go to fill surface, and this time you'll notice we need to pick each edge individually in order to make the patch. Alternatively, you can pick one edge, right click and say select open loop. This will run around the outside of the boundary, selecting all edges for you. I'll leave it at contact for now, and let's have a look at its curvature. Go to evaluate, curvature, and for the most part it's quite even, but you'll notice down here there's an abrupt change in its curvature. Let's edit the feature and see what we can do. You'll see four edges in our patch boundary box, and we can control the edge settings for each one of these by using this drop down box. Apply to all edges means that whatever relation I give to one edge will be given to all. It's a good idea to tick this off to give you control over each edge individually. I'll take edge number 4, which is this one here. You'll see a flyout box indicating to the edge you've selected. And I will give that a curvature relation. I'll select edge number 3 and I will give that a contact relation. Edge number 1, which is down here, I'll also give a contact relation. I'll give a curvature relation to edge number 2. I'll approve this, turn on curvature, and you'll see that the edge that was made contact has got an abrupt change in curvature. It's also possible to add guide curves to our fill surface, although fill surface calls these constraint curves. Let's select our patch boundary, and in constraint curves I'll select this spline. This spline in the usual way has been pierced to my edges, and you'll see the surface is deformed. It's also possible to use a point as a constraint curve, like this one here. It is when surfaces are deformed in this way we see the benefit of having control over what happens to our patch at these edges. Let's see what happens if I change some of these settings. I'll edit the feature, and at edge 1, which is this one here, I'll select curvature, and at edge 4 here I'll also select curvature. Say OK, and you'll notice that the change in curvature that was there has now been removed.